Here's another listener essay.
This is Infants on Thrones.
Listener essay. Welcome back to Infants on Thrones. I'm Glenn Ostland, and today's listener essay comes from Michael and is titled Nihilism. Now, if you want to vote for this essay and give some private feedback to the author, visit our website. I'll give you the form letter pre-recorded detailed message at the end of the episode today. But for now, take it away, Michael.
After I left Mormonism, I had some trouble figuring out what direction I wanted my life to take. I spent a good time simply deconstructing the ideas around me. I realized I hated institutions. I became an atheist because there was no God. Even if there were a God, I wouldn't worship him because he's an asshole. Republicans were wrong because they love guns and religion. The Democrats were wrong because they apologized for Islam. I think I eventually realized that everyone was wrong except me. And, well, to be fair, maybe Randy. But I've entered a phase in my life where I'm attempting to pick up the pieces and reconstruct a life and moral framework. I've been really attracted to mindfulness and Buddhism. I like the idea that you can experience pain and its unpleasantness without craving for it to end. But I had an almost religious awakening to the philosophy of nihilism, and that's what I want to talk about in this essay. I had just moved across the country from Utah to Florida to study economics in a sincere attempt to validate my life. I had been told that my religious views were atrocious. My political views were no better. I was supposed to stay in Utah, have kids, be a Mormon guy, work or go to school there. My graduate school was supposed to be either an MBA or law school, again in Utah. My life's most important work was to occur within the church. I decided to do things differently. I arrived in Florida after being challenged constantly by those around me. I was a little worn down and disillusioned after everything that had happened. But I quickly found my footing during the program and was excelling. At the end of September, we finished the first project. I was the only one who achieved a perfect score. I put in countless hours making it just so, and after class I'd said something to someone, exhausted, trying to be funny, which wasn't very funny, and one person who witnessed this exchange said something like, "You say some weird stuff sometimes." He didn't say it maliciously. We remained friends and have even been on the same team since, working well together. But there was something about that moment where it just hit me. Nothing matters. And I think this is why. If there were ever a time that my life were to be validated, where I were to find some cosmic meaning and approval for what I was doing, it was then. I cannot explain how discouraged I had been in the previous year, having gained a lot of weight and lost many friends and even my family to some extent after I publicly announced I was leaving Mormonism. I had put a lot on the line to be able to live my life my way. And after this first milestone, I had achieved exactly what I wanted. My whole vision was undoubtedly coming together. I must have been right on some level, in spite of what all those people in Utah had said. But then, in the exchange described earlier, I received the same feedback I had put all my effort into eschewing previously. I'm weird and different and not cool. I can't say that moment exactly crushed me, but I just realized then and there, nothing matters. It hit me so clearly. It was like looking around the corner at the end of a long and convoluted labyrinth where you expect to see gold or treasure or enlightenment and see nothing. And not blackness, not empty space. I'm talking about the type of nothing that only exists in the minds of philosophers. The kind of nothing that can't be conceptualized, just experienced. It was a transcendent and almost religious experience. I also realized that in that moment, I could have inserted any god I wanted into the nothingness. I could have convinced myself that the flying spaghetti monster is who had led me to that time and place, and I have no doubt that it could have felt very real. I realized in that moment that maybe the religious experiences of the mystics in the past has been a peeking into this nothingness, having some experience close to mine, and then placing their god of choice into it. Otherwise, if there were no God, if there were only nothing, what would be the point of life? Accepting that nothing matters is scary, but it has its appeal as well. By being a nihilist, I've simply chosen not to invent answers where there are none. I've decided to look at life for what it is, random atoms bumping into each other over and over until observable stuff happens. And that can put things into perspective. Dan Harmon, a co-creator of Rick and Morty, said that realizing nothing matters is what saves you in those moments when life seems to be conspiring against you, and when things are so horrifying you don't want to face them. Realizing nothing matters also gives your life some sort of local meaning and direction that you can't have without the realization. It allows you to let go of whatever you need to in order to pursue your own unconstrained joy, including the pressure of having to live up to some godlike entity, which religions like Mormonism especially emphasize. I can see the validity in the criticisms levied against nihilism. How does it stop you from murdering and raping and lying? Simply put, it doesn't. That's why it's a good idea to anchor nihilism in something like mindfulness that allows you to see how murdering, raping, and lying simply works against you and against a world that might be conducive to your own happiness. But why care about your own happiness? Nothing matters, right? I understand these criticisms and how this can be a hard philosophy to accept or trust. Luckily, we can hack morality until we figure out good answers and justifications, because not killing and raping is something that most people just don't want to do, even if we don't always understand why. The idea of human rights and the importance of equality just rings true to people. So the second you say that morality is mushier than the way it is framed by most religions, people aren't going to go crazy. They'll be okay. Let me just leave it there for now. I'll also say I don't care what myth people have to believe to get out of bed and make themselves happy. Your religious framework doesn't have to be the same as mine. Believe whatever you want, but with a caveat. Realize it's a Yuval Harari type of fiction. I make myself believe 5 false things to get out of bed every morning. And I have my own fictions that I'm very fond of, such as money and all the things you can buy with it, like anything in the world. But I also trace the reason why I do that and realize I just have to deceive myself sometimes, or else I'm not going to be happy. And I'll admit it. If I can get religious people to simply admit they believe in a fiction, just like me, I'll be more than satisfied with the world around me. I am, at the end of the day, simply pursuing my happiness and trying to advocate for the world that best helps me achieve it, which will lead me to fight against hatred, unkindness, immoralities, its deception, lies, despotism, and all other evils wherever I see them. I'm not so different from most religious or non-religious people in that sense. The main difference is, at the end of the day, I just realized whatever happened that day doesn't really matter.
Thank you for the listener essay. We desire all to receive it. And if you want to vote for it, go to the website and vote for it and give the author some feedback, and then tune in again tomorrow, because we'll be doing this all over again with a brand new listener essay. I'll have all the long-winded fancy details as an Easter egg, so you can skip over it if you want, or listen to it if you want. It'll be there after Zoe says, "Thank you for listening to Infants on Thrones." That's how we roll.
Hi, this is Hillary.
Matthew, Ryan,
Carol,
Keith,
Ashley, and I like to play bingo online while listening to Infants on
You
Thrones.
can comment on this episode on the website, infantsonthrones.com.
And if you really like what you hear,
Consider supporting us on Patreon for as little as $1 per episode, capped at whatever total amount you want to cap that at. I mean, where do you think the money is coming from to award prizes to the listener essays, huh? Pretty cool stuff we're doing on Infants on Thrones. Also,
give the Quorum a 5-star rating and write a short review on iTunes.
I did. Anyone for the closing prayer?
Thank you for listening to Infants on Thrones. Infants on Thrones.
well, that was a great listener essay, wasn't it? Ready to go vote for it? Now, if you've heard this before and you're an old pro at voting for these essays, you can just skip over this part. Now, here's how this is going to work. As it stands right now, I have 14 listener essays, and that means that for the next 2 weeks, starting today, February 7th, ending on February 20th, you will be hearing one listener essay per day, at least for those of you who listen in real time once the episode is released. And FYI, some of these essays were submitted to us without a title, so I gave them a title myself. So if you think the title of the essay is stupid, well, that's probably my fault, because damn if I don't love me some stupid. But here's the really exciting part. One of these 14 essays will win $218 because it's 2018 now, and we like to be cute and stupid about things, but we're not able to award a $2,000 prize just yet, okay? Another essay will win $109, half of the 218, and I think I actually got the math right this time, I think. And a third will win $50, and you listeners get to choose who these winners will be, and you'll also be able to give private feedback to each author. So here's how that's going to happen. After you listen to the essay today, go to our website, infantsonthrones.com, find the post for the essay that you listen to, and be sure that you have the author's name and the essay title right so that your feedback goes to the right place. Click on the survey that's associated with that essay, and it's going to be there on the post. Fill out the survey and submit it, and then sit back and breathe in and breathe out. And feel life's energy flow through you, and bask in the warm feeling of knowing that you made a difference in the life of someone brave enough to submit a listener essay to Infants on Thrones. Now, when you fill out these surveys, you're going to be asked two things primarily. One, to rate the essay on a scale of 1 to 5, and then you'll also have the opportunity to write in some of your thoughts, some of your feedback for the author. It'll only take a few minutes, and then boom, you're done. Now, you can do this for every single essay, every single one of these 14 essays. You can vote, or you can put your feedback for each one of these 14 essays, but you can only vote once for each essay. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, voting will be open through the entire month of February. Even though the essays will stop on the 20th, you'll still be able to vote for the last week or so of February. On March 1st, voting will be closed, and then the winners will be announced on Saturday, March 3rd. Now, some of you may be wondering, is there a deadline for submitting essays? Well, no, not really. Now, this contest with these 14 essays, that will end with the final essay being released on February 20th, but my hope is that as you listen to these essays, you will feel inspired to make one yourself and share your unique view of the world with the rest of our listening audience. So, if you want to do that, submit it, and as soon as we get another 10 to 15 essays, we'll start another contest. How's that? Make sense? Pretty good deal, huh? And isn't that really how the world's supposed to work anyway? I mean, think of it like this. It could be kind of like if you were kneeling at an altar and you looked up and you saw this big mirror on the wall in front of you. And in that mirror, you could see not only your own reflection looking back at you, but you could see the reflection of the mirror on the wall behind you and the back of your head. And then in that reflection, you also saw another reflection of yourself, both front and back, stretching outward and onward, upward throughout all generations of time and throughout all eternity. Like Rey in the new Star Wars movie, if Rey had been at an altar and married herself. Can you marry yourself? What is that, master wedshin? I don't know, in some kind of a weird Mormon Jedi temple ceremony thing that distinguishes one type of nerd from other types of nerds. That's kind of what this essay contest is like. No, I don't know. Will it end? Can you submit essays forever and ever and be like Rey? I don't know. See, what did I tell you? I love me some stupid. So this is the deal. Infant Listener Essay Contest. Please participate and make this thing super special, because special isn't just a euphemism anymore, or something remarkable like that.
Hi, this is Hillary.
Matthew, Ryan,
Carol,
Keith,
Ashley.
And I like to play bingo online while listening to Infants on Thrones.
You can comment on this episode on the website, infantsonthrones.com.
And if you really like what you hear,
Consider supporting us on Patreon for as little as $1 per episode, capped at whatever total amount you want to cap that at. I mean, where do you think the money is coming from to award prizes to the listener essays, huh? Pretty cool stuff we're doing on Infants on Thrones. Also,
give the Quorum a 5-star rating and write a short review on iTunes.
I did.
I did.
Anyone for the closing prayer?
Thank you for listening to Infants on Thrones. Infants on Thrones.